changed. But the hand of Jesus touched me, and I'm no longer the same. This message that I have this morning was inspired by a minister I heard several years ago that was touched by Jesus. And he said he was so full of God's Spirit, he felt like he could attack hell with a water gun. So I hope this morning that what I share with you, you can pull out that water gun and go for hell if you want to. Because, you know, it is up to us to live our life in such a way that not only are we a blessing to God and to God's kingdom, but a blessing to each other. I would like to begin this morning by thanking those who have thus far participated in the program and for their participation in the program this morning. And I do trust, and my prayer at this time is that God will anoint me as He has the message, as His messenger, to be an inspiration to each of you, that you will know what it's like to be touched by the Master's hand. Some of you have heard part of this message before, and I'm going to repeat some of it this morning, not because you need to hear it, but because I need to say it. In all of our spiritual journey, each one of us have the occasion that we have to look back on our life at what has taken place with us and to rekindle that spirit that God has in us so we can get out those water guns and go forward. And that's what I want to be able to do this morning, is to share with you my spiritual journey back when I was at a time in my life that I didn't believe that the God at that time, of my understanding, welcomed me into His kingdom. So for many, many years, I considered myself a backdoor Christian. For those of you who aren't from the true South and don't know what backdoor means, that means you aren't good enough to come in the front. So I considered myself at that time a backdoor Christian. But over the years, and with studying and with understanding, I began to know the God of my understanding. But I do want to share a little anecdote with you this morning before I start. A little girl asked her mother, how did the human race begin? The mother answered, God made Adam and Eve, and they had children, and so mankind was born. 2 days later, she asked her father the same question. And he said, well, there was a band of monkeys, and we evolved from monkeys. This confused the little girl. So she went back to her mother, and she said, you told me that God created Adam and Eve, and we were created by God. And my father says that we were created by monkeys. I don't understand. And she said, oh, darling, that's simple. I told you about my side of the family. He was telling you. So, this morning I've taken you briefly to the comedy zone. Now I'm going to take you to the nursery school. And then we're going to go to church if it's okay. Mary had a little lamb. His fleece was white as snow. He followed Mary to school one day. But he also followed her everywhere that she would go. And the reason the little lamb followed Mary, and the reason I use this nursery rhyme this morning, is because Mary touched the little lamb. And when Jesus touches your life, that's what happens to you. You follow Him wherever He should go. And that is what the story is about this morning, is we must, in our spiritual walk, we must follow Jesus. He is the Good Shepherd. Mary, Mary was touched that lamb, and that little lamb felt safe, felt secure, because she was everything he needed. She was his comforter. She was his counselor, his food source. She was to that lamb what Jesus is to us. And that is what Jesus will be to you. is when he comes and touches your life. As in our responsive reading this morning in Psalms 23, it says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Jesus says to each one of us, "Come unto me, all ye who are burdened and heavy laden, for I am your resting place." In my early Christian life, as probably in many of your lives, as likened unto mine, I found it very difficult to believe that Jesus could touch my life in that same way. So this morning, I stand before you, and I want to take you on my spiritual journey as Jesus touched my life and helped me to get to know from the message that we heard this morning about the Good Shepherd who laid down his life for the sheep. For me, I grew up in a Christian home, went to church, believed the teachings, but questioned where I fit in. As today, even in those days, each church had a little box. And my friends, I'm not speaking about the boxes we have at the entrance and the exits for your tithing collections. I'm speaking about that little box that society built. And you fit within the realms of that little box, or you really didn't fit in to the church at all. That box was not built by the Jesus that touched me. That box was built by earthly persons. And I did not find myself fitting in that box. Even though I knew I did not fit in that box and that I was outside the fold. And I was asking Jesus to condone a lifestyle that I had been taught did not fit in to that little box. So many times as a young Christian in the little church in the Wildwoods in North Carolina, I would be sitting in the pew and so under the conviction of the Holy Spirit that tears would be streaming down my cheeks and I wasn't even crying. And the invitation hymn would play, "Just as I am, without one plea." And Jesus would come and sit beside me. And he would ask to come into my heart. And I would respond, "Not just as I am." And Jesus would say to me, "Just as you are. Come unto me, just as you are. Believe in me as I believe in you." Today, my friends, I can stand before you, and I did let Jesus into my heart, just as I was, and he touched me, and he touched me, and he changed my life